So to begin, we want our chopping board, our knife and our whole chicken. Now first it's good to get comfortable with the chicken and how it feels in your hands. I know it can be squeamish at first, you might not be used to seeing a whole intact chicken, you might just buy the breasts and thighs individually most of the time, and that's absolutely fine. So you want to get comfortable with the bird and you want to identify which pieces are which. So first of all, these two big organs here are the breasts and you have the wings either side. And here on the bottom you have the drumsticks, the chicken legs. Now if you turn the bird around, you'll see that these legs continue onto the thighs here. So when you buy chicken thighs, you're buying this piece right here. When you buy drumsticks, you buy this piece. And when you buy wings, you of course buy this piece. This is the spine of the bird. Typically, we don't use it for anything. This chicken came with the neck, so I will chop this off. So personally, what I like to do first is start with the legs. Why? Because if you put your chicken breast side up, then you can see the legs are only separated on this side by a thin piece of skin. You can almost pull them off yourself at this point. And so you're just going to take your knife and you're just going to help along with that process. You're going to make some small cuts of the skin here and slowly pull it away. And as you can see, it's just this very thin layer that we're going to cut. So I'm going to turn the chicken to make it a bit easier for myself and just slice this layer of skin. Now, as you can see, I don't have the sharpest knife in the world and you don't need it. One thing that was a complete game changer for me is instead of making long continuous strokes, make successive short quick cuts. So now we've separated the skin on this side. I'm just gonna chop this skin off as well. And this is all just skin. I'm not going through any meat right now. It shouldn't pose too much resistance. And so you should have, arguably my bird does not look the prettiest, but breast side up, you should have the skin has been cut for the legs. So now let's take them off entirely. Turn the chicken over, and now the leg should be very loosely hanging on. As I said earlier, you should almost be able to just pull it right apart. Now, if you watch some chicken butchery videos, you'll hear people talk about the oysters of the chicken a lot and how important they are. Now, if you're just starting out, it does not matter if you waste meat. It does not matter. You can just cut it out afterwards from the carcass. And when people talk about the oysters, you can see if you follow the legs into the center, you have these two squishy bumps. That's all they mean when they say the oysters of the bird. So these pieces right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to cut around the oysters. But as I said, do not worry if you waste any meat. So let's get started on removing the legs. Take one leg and pull it towards the center and just try to separate as much as you can without using your knife. And so here we have a bunch of skin that is separating the leg from the rest of the bird. And if it's just skin, then we can just slice down. And now here we get to the oyster. So we have the skin that we've just cut and we have the oyster here. So to cut around the oyster, you want to slice the skin and you want to feel for where the meat is and where the bone is. And again, I could just cut like this and it would be completely fine. Yes, we've wasted this meat, but it's still there on the bird. We can just take it afterwards. So try your best, but it doesn't have to be perfect, to look at this oyster, this lump, and cut around it. Now, you might face some resistance, and if it feels too solid, it might be bone because the oyster's connected there. So bring your knife closer towards you and just keep trying. Just keep cutting, keep slicing. And there you go. Now here, see, there's a little bit of meat here that I've left on the chicken, but that's not a problem. We can just cut again and get the rest of that. Now again, do not worry about this for now. There we have some meat. I can just chuck it in the pan and fry it with the rest of the chicken. But now what you want to do is pull back until you see a bone. Now this bone here is connected to another bone in the carcass. And with butchering a chicken, you want to slice in between the bones. You can cut the bones themselves, but it's much easier to break a tendon than the bone itself. And now if you can't find that, do not worry, we're going to go through that again. So you had this chicken like so. So we started out with a chicken like this. We cut the skin to release the leg on this side. We turn it over, we pull it back, and naturally the bone comes out. And now if we keep pulling further and take our knife, we feel the end of this bone and the start of the next, and we just make a little slice. And this will prove some resistance, but eventually you should have a nice cut there. Now, if we look at what we have, The leg is barely hanging on now. We just have a little bit of meat at the end of the thigh, and then we have some skin. So no need to be super precise here. We're just going to slice the skin, the meat. Again, try to hug the bone so you can maximize how much thigh meat you get. And eventually we should come to this bit of a mess that you can just slice through with all your strength. And there you go. You've just extracted a chicken leg from this chicken. This beautiful, perfect chicken leg. And this is the great thing about butchering your own chicken. If you fancy having an entire leg, you can. If you want a drumstick and a thigh, you can just separate them yourself. If you want skin on, you can have skin on. If you don't, you can just peel it off. Now, to separate the drumstick and the thigh, this is optional. But what I do, and what I think is easiest, is taking the bone from the thigh, the drumstick, and getting your hand nice around them and just slowly break it apart. And the reason I did that, as I mentioned earlier, is so I can see where the two bones meet. Instead of slicing through a bone, I want to cut in between the two. And so now I can see the end of the thigh bone here, and also the drumstick and thigh naturally have a nice line of fat down here. So we're just going to slice, try to cut in between the bones. You can use your hands to feel where they are. I can see the drumstick bone here. So I'm just going to take my knife, and you're going to have a drumstick and thigh by the end anyway. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit more meat on the thigh or a bit more meat on the drum. Once you find your separation, again, not a big deal if you do cut through the bone, but this is just a lot easier for you and your knife. Continue the slice through, and you should have no problems. And now slice through the rest of the skin, and there you have, there you have a chicken drumstick. Incredible. You are learning some incredible skills. And now we have a chicken thigh, a beautiful chicken thigh with some excess skin. If you don't like chicken skin too much, you can cut it off or remove it entirely. It's very easy to just take the skin, peel it back and use your knife. Now, I personally like skin on quite a lot, so I'm going to keep the skin on these. If you're on boneless, this is another bonus. This is a little bit trickier. I wouldn't recommend it if you're starting off, but you want to see the ends of the bone, the top end and the bottom end right here, and you just want to try to cut around the bone as much as possible. Now, as I was saying earlier, you are going to waste a bit of meat. You will not be perfect. I am definitely not perfect at this. But you want to slowly cut around the bone, and it'll be a little bit tricky. You might have to move it around a bit. You might have to pull the bone out like this a little bit to get behind it. And the main thing here is to keep your fingers safe. Chicken thigh is no good if you can't pick it up to eat it. And there the bone at the bottom. Following it down, and there we've deboned a chicken thigh. And now we have boneless chicken thigh. Now you might have some leftover connecting bone at the end, which you can just chop off with your knife. And there you have your boneless skin on chicken thigh. Absolutely beautiful. So now I'm going to work on the second leg. So I still have some skin separating on this side, so I'm just going to slice through that. Again, skin is pretty annoying to cut through, especially if your knife isn't the sharpest, but just keep going at it. You want back and forth motions with the blade of your knife, and then pull it towards the center. See, the bone has just popped out there. We've got the oyster right here. I'm going to take my knife, follow it around. I've gone too far into the chicken because I feel something hard. So now I'm going to take my knife back towards me a little bit and follow it around. There you go. Still got some meat from the thigh there, but it's absolutely fine. We're going to cut in between these two bones here. There we go. And now finalize by just chopping through the rest. Boom. Now again, snap the bone. There's probably a much more elegant solution to this, but this way is pretty fun. You gotta crack some bones. And then just chop right through. And there you have another chicken thigh and chicken leg. I'm just gonna cut off the excess skin. There we go. All right, now we have 2 chicken thighs, 1 boneless, 1 bone-in, and we have 2 chicken drumsticks. Fantastic. Now we just have the wings and the breasts left to go. Now, you can do these in either order. I personally think it's easier to do the breast. So if you look at it, it is a very big organ. You will waste some meat at first. It's okay. It's pretty difficult to get all the breast meat out, so do not worry. You can see there's a natural fat line separating the chicken here and also down the middle. So we're going to cut like this. First of all, you see your chicken skin here. If you want to preserve your chicken skin, which I do, I love skin on breasts. I love pan-fried skin on breasts. You're going to feel with your hands, between the two breasts, there is a very hard ridge in the middle, and you want to cut either side of that ridge. And this does take some practice. So first, I'm just going to cut. Again, my knife is not very good with this skin, but I'm just going to cut down through the skin. And now I'm going to try to feel for where that hard divide is. I'm going to work on this breast first. So I'm going to try to make incisions hugging the wall of this divider. So I'm just going to go all the way down to the bottom like this, all the way down, all the way down. I'm going to go all the way up. And now you'll find something you might have found surprising. If we look at this breast and peel it back, you can see there's a natural separation between the top layer of meat and the bottom layer. Now, I didn't make a cut here. What you're seeing is the chicken breast and the chicken tender. That's right. A lot of people think chicken tenders are just breasts sliced into strips, but no, they're actually an entirely separate part of the bird. There's naturally a layer between the tender and the breast on chickens. And so first I'm going to deal with the breast and then I'll remove the tender. So I'm just going to cut the skin. There we go. And now up here, it can get a little bit tricky around the wing. And what I like to do is just slice down the top and feel, again, using your hands to feel where there's meat and where there is not meat is a very good technique. So I'm just going to use my hands to feel where the meat is and just cut along and try to hug the wall of meat to not meat. And again, there's quite a bit of skin in my way, which is a bit tough. Okay, and now I've separated. So now we can see the chicken breast here, still connected to the bird, and the chicken tender. Now it lives up to its name. It is very fragile and streaky. So now we're going to isolate the tender. We're going to go up to separate the meat from the wall. And we're going to be quite careful to just prise it away from the center, like so. So as you can see, I've just pulled it a little bit too hard and it's come off on its own. So I'm just going to keep slicing. Keep slicing along this central wall. And here I have a chicken tender. Boom. Batter it, fry it, make homemade KFC. Absolutely delicious. And now for the rest of this breast. At this point, it's only connected to the chicken at the base next to the very hard center. So you're going to take the wing, put it out of the way a little bit so you can cut around it, like so. And now, if you lift it up, the fat line I mentioned earlier, that is all we have now remaining in our way. So we're just going to take our knife, cut through the meat. Again, there'll be some wasted meat up here, but do not stress. Going to keep cutting, again using my hands to pull away slowly as I cut to help myself out, to help the process. Keep slicing all the way down. And there you have, if I just restore the skin quickly, there you have a chicken breast. Boom, pretty big chicken breast. It would be pretty expensive on its own in the shop. You can take the skin off if you want, and here you'll see the normal chicken breast you know and love and can find in the shop. So I'm going to put this to the side, and now I'm going to deal with the other side. So again, now it's a bit easier because you've seen where the middle separating line is. So I'm just going to cut on the other side of that now. Cut down. Cut down. There, I've just found the separation between the breast and the tender. So I'm going to cut out the breast a little bit more so I can access the whole tender. And now I'm just going to prise it away from the central wall. Again, just making very quick successive cuts, not long strokes like this, but quick, small cuts. And it should naturally start to come away. All right, and there's our second chicken tender. Let me just put that to the side. and then focus on the rest of the chicken breast. Feel up top for the separation between meat and no meat, and just try to cut around that. Get through this annoying skin. And now all that's left is this fat line. So I'm just going to cut down that line. Again, try to get as much meat as possible, but no big deal if not. And there I have, oh, and there I have, oh, and there I have my second chicken breast. Now, there's a little bit too much skin for my liking. I'm just gonna amputate that, and I'm gonna put this to the side. And now finally we're left with the wings. Now the wings for me are always a little bit tricky because they don't really have much meat anyways, but you have your two wings here. All you need to do is, as the other pieces, find where the bone connects to the rest of the body. Personally, again, I like to snap it a little bit, feel around the shoulder, if you will, and just try to separate the wing from the rest. And again, this is pretty arbitrary. You will lose a bit of meat, but that's okay. So now we have a wing. Put that to the side. And now the other side. We have our meat, we have our bone. I'm going to see where it connects. Identify the connection between those bones. Again, no worries if you just slice right through the bone. Get through that skin, and there we have it. We have now dissected our entire bird. Now the carcass. If you watch any chicken butchery video, they'll say keep the carcass and the trimmings and keep them for stock. Now, personally, I don't make enough things that use chicken stock. And to just simmer this for 3 to 4 hours in a pan, which is how you make chicken stock out of this, to me is simply just not worth it because I barely ever use chicken stock. So, controversially, I am going to throw this in the bin. Now, if this is blasphemous to the butchering community, I do apologise. And so now we have our 2 wings, our 2 breasts, our 2 tenders, our 2 chicken thighs, and our 2 drumsticks. And I do not have enough space on my chopping board. Alright, the tenders can rejoin with the breasts for now. And perfect. We have now dissected our very own chicken into 2 thighs, 2 legs, 2 breasts, 2 fillets, and 2 wings. If you followed through and you're doing this for the first time and one of the first few times, I'm very, very proud of you for making it to this stage. This is your first step in improving your confidence in the kitchen, the ability of things you can make, your general knife skills, and of course, saving money. And one of the biggest benefits, I think, customization. Taking things into your own hands, taking control of your food, how you want to prepare it yourself. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. I really, really hope you learned something. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer them in the comments. Thank you very much.